guys, welcome to the program. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. Men are holding strong and the women are folding. What's going on basically? Well, women have decided we better keep our mouths shut because if we keep speaking out on all the LGHD TV woke issues, we're getting made fun of and we don't like it. And people in school are ostracizing us and ignoring us and teasing us and making fun of us. And we need to shut up now. This is the Overton window moving hard to the right in just a matter of a year or two. No matter what they do, it's not going to work because men are holding their ground because men just don't give in to social pressures nearly as much as women do. Women care about what others think of them a lot more than men do. And men are holding true to their principles while the women fold under pressure. This comes from an Instagram post that actually has an article attached to it that was written by a girl that's, I guess, still in high school or college. And she says, as boys shift to the right, we're seeing the rise of the new chill girl. Now, what's the new chill girl? One that keeps her mouth shut, one that doesn't become an activist, one that doesn't go about correcting everybody on their opinions about things because they're being made fun of and they're being ignored and they're being shunned. And so they're realizing, hey, I might be on the wrong side of current history. Now, this shouldn't come to a shock to you because if you know anything about the history of the world, we can go, and I'll use the United States for an example because we're somewhat of a trendsetter when it comes to global phenomenon, just because of Hollywood and our music industry. But if you remember back in the 50s, it was stodgy and uptight. And then you had Elvis come out gyrating on stage and young men with their souped up old sedans turned into hot rods and leather jackets. And then the movies started picking up on that. And before you know it, culture shifted from the stodginess to kind of the cool. And then it shifted again into the flower child and the roaring 60s and free love and socialism and peace, not war. And because of that, the economy crashed in the 70s. And then the 70s turned into disco and partying and having a good time, which turned into the 80s, where Miami Vice and Tom Selleck, a police officer and a private investigator, were driving around in Ferraris. And Gordon Gekko came out and said, greed is good and money is everything, which led to the 90s and goth girls and flannel and the grunge era, on and on and on. Each one was a rebellion of the time that came before it. And so woke was rebellion of, I don't know, happiness and good times and people just getting along, and they decided to tear everything apart. Now the new splashback is being normal and actually making fun of things and shaming people and using the word fat and other words that have been shamed. And nature is healing, in other words. As a matter of fact, this even happened in my era, in my youth, when I was a young man, 15, 16, 17, 18, around there. Parents, all we did is get schooled about how music was evil. Ozzy Osbourne was summoning the devil with his music, and a lot of the heavy metal was really evil stuff. And Dungeons and Dragons was bad, and because you could summon succubi and demons and dragons, and it's all evil things. And so, how did we rebel? We listened to our music, and we still played Dungeons and Dragons, and we made fun of the old people for telling us that it was all evil stuff. And we even went so far as to make fun of them for saying playing records backwards would make, I don't know, the devil speak something. All of that stuff was completely over the top. This, by the way, speaking of Dungeons and Dragons, this is what Dungeons and Dragons is today. Now, if you're just listening, we're looking at a pastel-colored photo where you've got two elderly women holding hands that are in love, a man and some sort of beast that are both male, dancing in the middle of a festival while rainbows are in the sky and dragons are up in the air, and a beholder, which, if you know anything about beholders, while a beholder has a heart eye lovingly gazing in on the wonderful festival. Now, when I was young, this is what Dungeons and Dragons looked like on the left, towards me, right here, and this is what it's turned into. Do you see why men are snapping back against current things and why they just say, you know what, I'm not giving into this social pressure. I'm done with this stuff. By the way, Dungeons and Dragons has been ratioed into the basement because everybody's making fun of how woke they are because this is how times change. Well, before we get into the main story here, let's hear from today's sponsor, Black Forest Supplement, and then we'll get into how the chill girls are holding their mouths shut because the masculine men aren't putting up with it anymore. Guys, I wanted to tell you some amazing news, and honestly, this one's a victory for every single American who still believes in health freedom. Amid pressure from the NPA, FDA declares NMN, or nicotinamide mononucleotide, lawful in dietary supplements. That's right, we won. We beat the swamp. After months of pressure from the Natural Products Association, which includes companies like Black Forest Supplements who stood up and fought back, the FDA finally reversed course and declares NMN lawful for dietary supplements. That means you still have the right to decide what goes into your body, not unelected bureaucrats or big pharma lobbyists. Big Pharma wanted NMN turned into a prescription drug so they could patent it and sell it for over $900 a bottle. But thanks to thousands of Americans and brands like Black Forest standing up and refusing to comply, we won. And that's why I respect these guys so much. They're part of the fight for health freedom, and they're not done, because NMN was just the beginning. The same people who tried to bury NMN are the ones profited the most from the scam-demic, making billions while silencing doctors who questioned the long-term effects. Now more research is revealing what spike proteins do to the body: inflammation, fatigue, brain fog, mitochondrial damage. Some of the most respected doctors in the world are finally speaking up, including Dr. Peter McCullough, who's never backed down to big pharma pressure. Listen to what he says about the spike protein.
You just gave a program that you're suggesting to people. Can you say it again, please?
Yeah, we have a major paper that's been accepted now for publication. Will come out. Base spike detox means it's a base of therapy. You can add other things to it, but we think it's necessary in everybody. We need two ways to degrade the spike protein, get it out of the body. First is nattokinase, N-A-T-T-O-K-I-N-A-S-E, 2,000 units twice a day. The second is bromelain, 500 milligrams once a day. They both degrade the spike protein different ways. They accelerate the clearance of it together. And the last is something to reduce inflammation and spike protein damage. That is curcumin, either in the nano or liposomal form is fine. Curcumin, 500 milligrams twice a day. All of these are available over the counter. They are readily available. And I can tell you, people ought to get going on this. People going down. It's because the spike protein is not being cleared out of the body. People can take control of their own bodies and get after this.
Now, here's the crazy part. Big Pharma created this crisis. They raked in over $90 billion in profits, and now they look the other way, while every single American has been directly or indirectly exposed to spike proteins. That's why Black Forest Supplements stepped up, taking Dr. Peter McCullough's original formula and supercharging it into the most advanced 7-in-1 spike detox ever made. It packs 8 times more nattokinase than competitors to support healthy circulation, plus a full 800 milligrams of NAC to boost your body's natural detox power. Alongside that, you get bromelain to break down proteins and ease inflammation, turmeric for powerful anti-inflammatory support, and quercetin to strengthen immunity and protect blood vessels. A touch of zinc and black pepper extract round it out for maximum absorption and immune support. If you've ever been feeling brain fog, low energy, or just off, spike protein could be the reason, but it helps your body fight back. This isn't another detox pill. It's your reset button formulated to help clear spike proteins from the body, restore energy, and fight brain fog. Don't wait for the system that caused the problem to fix this. They're offering an amazing buy 2 spike detox and get 1 spike, and also 1 NMN, which is this guy right here, completely free for 48 hours. Link in the description or pinned comment. Don't miss out. So here's the article The Guardian shared. As teen boys shift towards conservatism, the rise of the new chill girl phenomenon grows apparent. Since the return of the right-leaning administration, I've noticed what's known as the laid-back young women phenomenon in high schools. A group could be chatting casually, then out of nowhere, one male tells a questionable remark, perhaps a sexist or offensive joke. The mood changes slightly. Usually male students carry on like nothing happened, but young women, frequently more progressive, confront a choice, object, and end up with getting a reputation as annoying or humorless, or stay silent and be viewed as easygoing and not woke. Lately, staying quiet is becoming increasingly common. The men have found their testicular fortitude again. Young men see, as they've grown up, they've been yelled at by teachers, administrators, movies, music. You're not woke enough. You've got to use this proper pronoun. You have to believe in that boys can be girls and girls can be boys. And the young people growing up are now rebelling, and women are rebelling as well. They've had enough of it. And just like every other generation in history, they're pushing back against what their parents and their quote-unquote betters are telling them to do. And the natural snapback is, oh, okay, you hate patriotism? I'm going to be patriotic. You hate being conservative? I'm going to check it out. Church is bad. I'm going to look into it. Just like so it's not even necessarily that it's the conservatism that the young men are looking towards, or even young women. They're just looking for something different. They're looking for a pushback against the insanity and the brain rot that has been drolled out to them for the last decade or two. They say this kind of apprehensive quiet is spreading outside of campuses. Last December, a media giant removed an LGHD TV character from a show. Months later, a regulation prevented federal workers from including gender identifiers in online profiles. In other words, using their pronouns in replies on email chains. Shortly after, a major media company cited anti-diversity policies when declared it would stop publishing diversity stats. Now, not only this, but we see Sydney Sweeney being put out in an ad, and it was just a beautiful woman doing things in jeans, and it caused a lot of attention. We see Harley Davidson sales go through the floor, along with Budweiser, along with all the other products, because people are just done with it. The nation, and I think the world as a whole, has had enough of the nonsense. And they say, okay, you got to live in your fantasy world. You're never going to stop. You're going to keep pushing for more and more insanity. We're returning back to normal now. You can keep being crazy. We're going to stop listening to you. We're going to stop giving you the air to breathe, to throw your nonsense at us. We're just going to ignore you now. And it is becoming proliferated in all of society, especially down to the young people, because they view you as nagging school marms. That's what they view everybody that wants to talk to them about this stuff anymore. This shift promotes nostalgia for a bygone time, an age prior to diversity initiatives where women were expected to prioritize a domestic life. A trad wife influencer called Ballerina Farm has gained millions of followers online. Her content of making sourdough and caring for a large family evoke a revival to conventional expectations. She even graced the front of a conservative magazine that openly endorses the present administration. Now, I happened to look this up, and here's Instagram. This is Ballerina Farm, and it's she's got 10.4 million followers. That is huge. And you can it's about them living on a farm, her cooking, her growing her own food. Oh my gosh, unlike woke influencers you see all the time on the internet, she actually has a picture of the kids and her husband and them all being loving and tender. You won't see that on any of these Instagram influencer channels. Shows her family in here, shows her husband reading to the children. See, this is what you don't see from the modern feminist or the modern influencer. This is what people want more of. They don't need the influencers showing the day in the life of where they're alone on a fancy jet flying off to Dubai to have some guy shit on their chest and pay him $100,000. This is what people are thirsty for. She's also over on TikTok. She's got 10.6 million followers on TikTok, much of the same content of her family and herself. And they have a YouTube channel. And she shows her husband and her children. They're doing things together. People are finding out that this feminism and this go-get-it attitude where you can go make your own money and go sleep with whoever you want to, and you'll have to work until you retire. Hopefully you can pay for your bills. People are finding this consumerism and this just me, myself, and I selfish attitude. It's growing thin. It's tiring. It's boring. It's lonely and sad. People, young people especially, have seen what the older generations turned out like. They see they're miserable. They see them yelling at protests and always screaming about some topic, when people today just want peace in their lives. They want love. They want family. They want friends. They want a community. And the young men see this today, and they say, yeah, this is important to me. If you remember the video I did a couple weeks ago, young men, conservative young men, overwhelmingly want a wife and family. Conservative women, even less than the men. And the progressives, it's dead last in importance for them. So the men holding strong, the men staying their course, the men saying, I don't care what you want. Go crazy with your whatever. I'm not going to be a part of that life. I'd rather be alone or have my guy friends, or I'm going to do what's best for me. And if you want to tag along, you tag along. Now, for, of course, now close to a decade, the women have been raging against that, saying men are losers, incels, all the other things. But by the men holding to their standards, the women are either realizing, I get a bad deal, I got to be alone, I definitely age out of the market at 40 years old, and nobody's going to want me anymore. And I need to come back and maybe be a part of this. As a matter of fact, I was going to save this to the end, but here's a good example. This comes from this chick. She's name is Zintani. She says, I'm 43 years old. This is on X, by the way. She says, I'm well-educated, have a well-paying job, keep myself fit, and I cook and I clean, but I can't find a boyfriend. Why? Now, of course, Homath says, because you're 43 years old. Now, she didn't reply to that directly, but later on in the chain, in another post, she posted, I've received hundreds of DMs since making it known that I'm single, but none of them are people I would date. Because men don't care if you're educated. They don't care if you have a well-paying job. They do like that you keep yourself fit, you cook and you clean, but you can't find a boyfriend because you're 43 and you're not willing to make any sacrifices. And because the men have said, I'm not putting up with this. You don't get to be a part of my life. The women are finding out they have to fold. They have to either go along with what the men are doing, or you're just going to be miserable cat ladies the rest of your life. They continue on. This effect trickles down to young people. In the current environment, progressive young women more and more hold back from expressing views that could be dismissed as overly politically correct. It's not because most are turning conservative. Recently, over half of female voters back the progressive choice. Instead, the atmosphere is different and girls increasingly feel more afraid about speaking up. Several teen girls say that it's more dangerous to appear outspokenly liberal. One noted that boys are becoming more confident to make bigoted comments. Now, are they really, or are they just guys making jokes and guys being guys? That's probably more of it. But in the past, if somebody had said, hey, what you just said or what you're doing is racist, a lot of people, even just 5 years ago, would have said, no, it's not, or how dare you, or what do you mean? And they would have started defending themselves. Now, when somebody says that about you, you're like, yeah, whatever, or F off, or shut up, or even most recently, yeah, so what? That's really what's going on, is the guys, we just had enough of the nonsense. She said, another said that since the change in leadership, meaning the presidency, casual racism and sexism have increased. Young women sense social pressure to stay passive after encountering hurtful comments. If you complain, male friends might think targeted, and it's often simpler to just let go and choose your battles. In other words, stop being a whiny Karen. It's, we're going to just do our thing. We're going to say some politically incorrect jokes. As a matter of fact, some of the most back and forth things that I've heard about race or intelligence or calling each other names is between different minorities of guy friends. I mean, matter of fact, over on Locals, where we have a community, there's one guy we often joke and call Pajit. And he says, well, I'm not a Pajit, but there's lots of them like me that are Pajits. We have a laugh about it because we're adult. We understand it's done in good humor, that we're just having some back and forth. Until they realize this, it just becomes stodgy and dry and boring and over Karen-y. I don't know if that's a word, and people are just done with it. They're just done. They don't care anymore. Another student added that concern of being seen as super woke can be enough to make someone not speak up. If she protests, boys may never respect her views afterwards. Such attitudes are harsh, yet they reflect wider patterns. Recent studies show that about 45% of teen girls experience a lot of stress when it comes to conforming socially. Since cultural conservatism grows, what it means to belong shifts. Even in fairly liberal setting, girls who react uncomfortably to crude talk risk social exclusion. No one wants to be the critic, so as a result, adolescent prejudice thrives. In other words, young men are not putting up with it anymore. And when the woman complains, they're like, whatever, and they ignore them. And they ostracize them. And women are very uncomfortable being socially ostracized. And the men don't care. And the cool, quote unquote, conservative or just more laid back girls go along with it. And now that people are more comfortable in expressing, hey, you know something? More than half of this country really is kind of conservative. And they look over what's happening in the UK or in Germany with the AFD or in the UK with reform. And they're saying, there's a lot of people that are just like me. Why am I being bullied into silence? Why am I letting you walk all over me like some Karen? I'm done. I'm done with you. And this is what happens. The impact of these political shifts on young people could be deep and enduring. Let's hope so. Beyond obvious government actions, there are quite quiet cultural changes that don't make the headlines. The acceptance of All the isms and phobe remarks amongst young people could alter how men and women interact for years, potentially enabling discrimination, mistreatment, and barriers to women's success. She goes on with her feminine diatribe. And she's a passionate writer and digital enthusiast with a background in creative storytelling and tech innovations. This is her. I mean, she doesn't look like a usual blue-haired, overweight, whatever, but it says this article was written by a teenage writer. Well, what's happening? People are just done with it. They're through. They want something traditional. But this is a good example. This Winter's Politics posted this. It's an LGHD TV flag draped over the entire, basically, stage of a church. And it says, if this offends you, you're not Christian. Well, you don't get to tell us what does or doesn't offend us. You don't get to tell us what is or does not make us Christian. We're done giving you the oxygen to breathe. But when you're a young man, or again, several young women that grow up and see this, you just say, I'm tired. I'm tired of your indoctrination. I'm tired of your stupidity. And they're getting pushback. Another good example. This is a liberal woman. I think she plays music. Let me see. Yes, there's music on this. So I'm not going to play it. I'm just going to mute it. And I want you to look at this face. First, it looks like she's got a herpes sore on her lip. And she's not attractive. And she says conservative men get so confused when they realize leftist women are the hot girls they don't stand a chance with. I don't know which women you're talking about. Obviously, it's not you, if this is what you look like. But furthermore, no. Just know this is you making up a scenario in your own head. Really?
Really?
Not even close. There's no conservative men that feel bad that they can't get with this. I'm sorry, it's not happening. But as young men, if it's like, well, I'm given the choice of I need to be politically correct and woke, so I might be able to get a chance with someone like this, or maybe I'll just be single instead and hang out with my boys and we're going to tell risky jokes and we're going to make fun of the world. I think I'll do that. That sounds a lot more fun. And lastly, I know we don't always talk about politics, but this is one of the reasons why many men are moving to the right exclusively and towards a more tradcon conservative Republican, reform, AFD type political parties. This is AOC, and she says Republicans are radicalizing and exploiting young men and pushing them towards a masculinity that requires the domination of others who are poorer, browner, darker, or different gender than them. No, we're not doing any of that. As a matter of fact, young men right now don't have any power at all. And it's not that Republicans are trying to change the mind of young men. It's stuff like this coming from the left and coming from the woke and coming from the LGHD TV and all this other stuff that is basically telling men, we don't like you, by the way. And that's pushing men to the left, or excuse me, to the right. It's not that the Republicans went out, recruiting. It's red pill doesn't go out and recruit. None of this is recruiting. It's just you're messing up things so badly. Men are walking away. And Joe Rogan has even said this. Joe Rogan, he said, I'm kind of a lefty when it comes to a lot of things, but the left have gone so crazy. Now they consider me far right. Bill Maher recently has said many things of, look, the woke hate me. They don't think that I'm progressive or left leaning anymore because they've gone so far left and I call them out on their bullshit. They're making themselves so unlikable. There is no other choice but to leave. Anyway, here's what AOC says about young men and Republicans.
And they are able to radicalize and target and exploit a generation of young boys, in particular, away from healthy masculinity and into an insecure masculinity that requires the domination of others who are poorer, browner, darker, or a different gender.
Now, of course, this is a full audience of women and men that are light in the loafers, if you know what I'm saying. The gate swings both ways.
Than them. And that is why they are resonating online, because they are appealing to the most basest and worst parts of human nature to divide.
She's basically just cracking down on masculinity. That there's nothing that masculine men do that's toxic. You know who the real toxic ones are? The Weasley, whiny, sneaky fuckers, the left, the guys that, protest and say feminism is great and women are amazing and powerful. Have I done good, honey? Can I now touch your butt? can I now have a little morsel of sex? I did what you asked. That is who's the problematic men. The rest of us men are just, we're going about our lives. Whether it's going to school, going to college, whether it's, I don't know, working, whether it's just trying to get ahead because gosh knows this world is a struggle right now. And they have to try to somehow convince that, well, it's actually these evil, brilliant, conservative political parties that are brainwashing men. No, you know who did the brainwashing to men? You did. You became so insufferable, so miserable, so anti-male that men just said, well, I don't know what else is out there, but you're not it. I'm not going to be a part of whatever this is. You know, my father used to talk about playing Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know what this is, but the Care Bear Dungeons and Dragons, I'm not into that. I'm into whatever's on the other side of this. You chased them away. You did it to yourselves. And so now the men are holding strong. They're saying, I'm not going to be part of this anymore. And the women are you either fold and you be quiet and you don't be problematic and maybe some Chad will wink your way someday, or you can be out there and you can make all the noise and you can be the activist and you can be the progressive girl. And most men, at least strong men, and a lot of based women are looking at you like you're the weirdo. And you want to know why that is? Because you are. You're now the weirdo. You're the Karen. You're the stick in the mud, no fun person. Good luck if you want to be that. Guys, don't forget, if you like my content, make sure to join us over at betterbachelor.locals.com. We got thousands of like-minded men. You can just drop a couple of bucks, hang out with us for a month or so. Make sure it's the right community for you. But we hang out. We have lots of live streams, such as doing classic, underrated, nostalgic television, which we'll be doing tonight because last night I was supposed to do it. And then I went to the gym and it worked out too hard and I fell asleep. I took a nap and I didn't wake up because I'm old. Damn it, I'm old. We also do UFC fights, football games. We do movie nights, things like that. It's a great community of like-minded men. So come on over, drop a couple of bucks, put yourself behind a paywall so we can watch a lot of content that you can't put out on YouTube or other websites, and have a great community of guys to hang out with. I think you'll really appreciate it if you do. All right, guys, we'll leave there. We'll see you in the next one.